Has Iran just captured the crown jewel of America's cruise missile arsenal by recovering an intact U.S. Tomahawk near Tehran? With an unexploded Tomahawk reportedly recovered, is cutting-edge U.S. missile technology now sitting in the hands of the IRGC's engineers? Did a failed U.S. strike hand Iran a reverse engineering jackpot, as a Tomahawk that did not detonate becomes a live lab sample for Tehran? Tehran's underground missile cities survived the war, and now its weapons labs may be quietly studying hard-won U.S. cruise missile secrets. Could one failed cruise missile strike end up costing Washington years of research and production, as Iran learns how to counter or copy the Tomahawk? A recovered intact U.S. Tomahawk warhead near Tehran has triggered major intelligence concerns, as it may expose some of Washington's most sensitive missile secrets. The unexploded warhead was reportedly found near Varaman, southeast of Tehran, after recent U.S. attacks, with its main body largely intact. Crucially, the component is said to have retained identifiable navigation hardware and much of its structural integrity, rather than being shattered on impact. Iran's explosive ordnance disposal teams are reported to have neutralized the warhead on site and then transferred it to specialists for detailed analysis. Experts warn that this recovery could give Tehran rare insight into U.S. cruise missile technology, particularly its internal electronics and design choices. The Tomahawk's inertial guidance system is critical for missions in GPS-denied environments, allowing the missile to stay on course even when signals are jammed. Intact navigation hardware could also reveal anti-jamming, terrain following, and possibly terrain counter-matching features built into the weapon. The incident comes after massive U.S. Tomahawk barrages were launched during Operation Epic Fury against targets inside Iran. Iran has claimed that several U.S. cruise missiles malfunctioned during those strikes, with some failing to hit their intended targets. Tehran has long treated captured foreign weapons as valuable tools for reverse engineering and domestic weapons development. Iran has previously used foreign systems to help build its own cruise missiles, drones, and air defense platforms over the past 2 decades. Technology from a Soviet Kh-55 cruise missile is known to have influenced Iran's SOMAR cruise missile program. Iran's efforts have also drawn on captured U.S. drones and legacy Western missile technologies that fell into its hands. Western planners now fear that the high volume of U.S. strikes may have inadvertently handed Tehran fresh technical data on some of America's most advanced systems. Did the U.S. and Israel fail to destroy Iran's underground missile cities, despite weeks of airstrikes aimed at cracking open buried launch sites and tunnels? Has Trump's war gone largely to waste if Mojtaba's forces managed to retain most of their missile arsenal, keeping enough launchers and stockpiles for the next round? 40 days of US and Israeli bombing could not breach the IRGC's underground fortresses around Yazd. US and Israeli forces spent 40 days pounding the mountains around Yazd in central Iran, trying to break open one of Tehran's most important buried missile projects. Their main target was a deeply buried missile complex carved into granite, designed to protect Iran's launchers and stockpiles from exactly this kind of sustained air campaign. Despite the intense bombardment, Iran kept launching missiles right up until the ceasefire, signaling that its core strike capability remained operational under fire. Washington later claimed the strikes caused major damage, but Iranian officials countered that the heart of their missile force had survived and remained ready. Iranian sources said the Yazd complex extended roughly 500 meters into the surrounding granite mountains, giving its tunnel substantial natural protection. Airstrikes reportedly damaged tunnel entrances and surface infrastructure, but failed to shut down operations for long, as crews worked to restore access. U.S. intelligence assessments concluded that Iran retained about 70% of its missile launchers even after weeks of attacks. Those same estimates suggested Tehran also kept around 70% of its pre-war missile stockpile, limiting the strategic impact of the campaign. Western diplomats said Iran appeared to have preserved a significant share of its missile capabilities, complicating any claim of a decisive Western victory. Residents in parts of western Iran reported seeing and hearing missile launches resuming just hours after some of the heaviest airstrikes. Experts argued that Iran's dispersed and hardened network succeeded in preserving enough assets to fight future rounds of conflict if needed. Evidence from the war indicated that Iran was able to rapidly reopen or repair damaged missile sites, restoring many facilities to service in short order. A reported draft of a US-Iran deal has triggered fresh debate over the potential cost of ending the war. Leaked details suggest Washington backed a plan involving up to $300 billion in financing for Iran's recovery. The reported memorandum is expected to be formally signed in Switzerland later this week if negotiations succeed. However, neither Washington nor Tehran has officially confirmed the authenticity of the leaked document. The reported proposal is separate from discussions involving approximately $24 billion in sanctioned or frozen Iranian assets. According to the leaked draft, the United States would work with regional partners to support Iran's economic rehabilitation. The reported funding would focus on rebuilding key sectors including energy, transport, logistics, and manufacturing. The document describes the initiative as part of a broader post-war stabilization effort. The proposal quickly sparked questions about who would ultimately provide the money. Reports indicate the financing would come through a private investment vehicle rather than direct government funding. According to Reuters, the fund is structured as a private investment mechanism and not as a reconstruction or reparations program. The investment pool would reportedly include firms and investors from the Gulf, Asia, Africa, and the United States. The proposed fund would operate separately from discussions involving Iran's frozen overseas assets. Vice President J.D. Vance has strongly rejected claims that the United States is handing billions of dollars to Iran. Vance said critics were ignoring the conditions Tehran would be required to meet under the agreement. J.D. Vance said, and I quote, "making the same mistake that a lot of Iranian propagandists are making. The benefits to the Iranians without any of the things the Iranians would have to give up and change. Not a single cent of American money under any circumstance, no matter what the Iranians do, goes to Iran. If the Iranians have done everything we require them to do, then we will allow third countries, such as the UAE, to invest in infrastructure projects in Iran. If the Iranians transform how they interact with the world, we will transform how the world economy interacts with Iran." Unquote. Vance said outside investment would only be permitted if Iran fulfilled all of its obligations under the agreement. He argued that any economic normalization would depend entirely on Tehran's compliance with the deal's terms.